Officials told NBC News that China hacked AT&T, Verizon, and Lumen. A spokesman from China said, "Get out of here." The hackers focused on records around the Washington, D.C. area, and the FBI does not plan to alert people whose metadata was accessed. In a statement to NBC News, Ron Wyden, one of the Senate's fiercest privacy advocates, criticized this. It's just insane. Our phones are hacked. China did it, and U.S. officials are now telling us, stop texting each other. I'm not joking. Here's what they say. Officials urge Americans to switch to encrypted apps because if you're texting using just regular SMS, they probably are reading those things. Amid unprecedented cyber attack that has now happened. Multiple articles on this. The White House has responded, and I've also pulled up the official warning from CISA saying that this is impacting 8 telecoms, and they're the big ones. And the Chinese are still inside the tubes. RCS, all of them, all compromised. Here's the background. FBI and CISA officials said it was impossible to predict when the telecoms companies would be fully safe from these interlopers. They're still inside the tubes. Amid an unprecedented cyber attack, AT&T, Verizon, U.S. officials have recommended that Americans use encrypted messaging apps moving forward. There's a hacking campaign that's happening right now. It's nicknamed Salt Typhoon, is one of the largest intelligence compromises in U.S. history. Has not yet even been fully remediated. Officials on a news call on Tuesday refused to set a timetable for declaring the country's systems free of the Chinese. Officials told NBC News that China hacked AT&T, Verizon, and Lumen. A spokesman from China said, "Get out of here." China firmly opposes and combats all kinds of cyber attacks, not us. But in the call on Tuesday, 2 officials, a senior FBI official who asked not to be named, and Jeff Green, executive assistant director for both cybersecurity at CISA, both recommended using encrypted messaging app to Americans who want to minimize the chances of China intercepting their comms. That's crazy. Our suggestion, what we have told folks internally, is not new. Encryption is your friend, whether it's on text messages or if you have the capacity to use encrypted voice comms. Even if the adversary is able to intercept the data, if it's encrypted, it's going to be impossible. The FBI said people looking to further protect their mobile device comms would benefit from considering using a cell phone that automatically gets updates, responsibly manage your encryption, and become phishing resistant. Multi-factor authentication, see, this is another concern. Like, what about your 2-factor authentications? Can they intercept that? So if they have your password, can they then also 2-factor, they can just send me the text message, send me the code. They send it, they get it, they have everything. The scope of the telecom compromise is so significant, Green said, that it was impossible for the agencies to predict a time frame when we have a full eviction. The hackers generally access 3 types of information. One type was call records or metadata, showing the numbers that phones called and when. The hackers focused on records around the Washington, D.C. area, and the FBI does not plan to alert people whose metadata was accessed. Insane. It's like our whole government. The second type has been live phone calls of some specific targets. The FBI declined to say how many alerts it had sent out to targets of the campaign, the presidential campaigns of Trump and Kamala, as well as Chuck Schumer and others. The FBI said had been targeted. The third were telecom systems for law enforcement, which allows law enforcement and intelligence agencies with court orders to track people's communications. The systems can include classified court orders from the FISA court, which processes some U.S. intelligence court orders. The FBI declined to say whether any classified material was accessed. So privacy advocates say use encryption, use Signal, WhatsApp, use Google Messages, iMessages. They can also encrypt those end to end. The FBI and other law enforcement agencies have a complicated relationship, historically advocating against it, but the FBI also supported forms of encryption as well. Even though the hacking campaign was first publicly disclosed before the election, they believe it was not an attempt to sway the results, but instead a massive but just traditional espionage operation by China to gather intelligence on America. We see this as a cyber espionage campaign. It's like, what are we paying these people billions of dollars for security? It's wide open. In a statement to NBC News, Ron Wyden, one of the Senate's fiercest privacy advocates, criticized this. It's just insane. It's like whatever they want. U.S. officials say that they still have not gotten rid of the Chinese telco hackers. They're still inside. In the most detailed account yet, security officials say spies accessed Washington records. The downbeat press briefing came more than 3 months after they caught wind of this. Someone said, given where we're discovering the activity, I think it would be impossible for us to predict a time frame on when we'll have a full eviction of the Chinese. Those agencies also got Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Senior officials from 2 U.S. agencies explained it was Salt Typhoon. It's broad and significant. It resulted in the theft of a large amount of sensitive data. They were able to penetrate the carrier's portals that law enforcement uses to submit court orders as well. They acknowledge that intelligence officials use the same portals. Now the Chinese have total access. The hackers eavesdrop on government and political targets. They've been notified. Chinese hackers had broad access to call records. AT&T, Verizon, all of us are in it. The actors stole a large volume of records. We cannot say with certainty that the adversary has been evicted. They're still inside. Much of the guidance for hardening the defenses would apply to all companies and a wide array of equipment, but one section was devoted to strengthening networks from Cisco. Chinese embassy says we didn't do it. We deny all this. Policies now require private sector cyber experts in China to report these vulnerabilities, but the White House says it goes to 8 telecoms, dozens of nations, all impacted by China, and a deputy advisor from the White House gave new info. She divulged the scope of the hack. The U.S. believes the hackers were able to gain access to a bunch of material. We don't believe any classified comms have been compromised yet, right? So there was a risk of ongoing compromises. She said that Biden had been briefed. It's a high priority. Embassy didn't respond, but it's a mess. And here is what CISA ultimately said. Says CISA, FBI, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, all warn of a cyber espionage campaign. So network engineers, here's what you can do. Investigate modifications, implement network monitoring, limit exposure of management traffic, monitor user and service account. If you're a network defender, do these things. Here's how you can harden your systems if you're a network engineer. It's a lot of things. Network defenders, do these. Turn off FTP. I know what that one means. And more. Cisco specific guidance. Disable Cisco's service, the smart install service. These Chinese, man, they hacked our systems to bits and it's not good. So Chinese have infected the tubes. Be very careful with your text message tubes. Get encryption and be careful what you send because somebody might be watching.